What up, Ho Biscuits? It's your girl Skitten, back at it again. I brought my husband here. Hello, husband.
It's time to be throwing away bottles because I don't litter.
I don't know if it's littering if it's in your own house.
Oh, I guess that's true.
Yeah.
So we don't get bugs.
Also that. You notice anything different about us? Lean up. You gotta lean up so they can see.
You can just zoom in. I don't have to. Well, I guess I'll fucking, whatever.
We got new glasses!
Good. Yeah, they look fantastic.
We look great.
There might be a hole in my head because mine's got a slight amount of green in it.
My glasses match the shirt of Chavezz's that I stole.
Yeah.
So, having a great time with that. Now, you watched that Casual Geographic video about bugs.
The giant bug that Katie did in it.
I did not watch that video because I did not want to have nightmares and I hate bugs.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, okay, and then we'll talk about like what we're here to watch.
Right.
So I was in the bathroom the other day, right? And sorry, I know this is probably TMI. I'm in the bathroom, sitting on the toilet, chilling. I'm on my phone. And then I start screaming for my life. Why? Because there's a spider scuttling across the floor like he owns the fucking place.
Was it towards your feet?
Yes! And then he disappeared. Then he came around the toilet onto the wall. And then he jumped off the wall onto the floor again. And then he disappeared again. So I'm screaming the entire time. And
Right.
Chavezz did not rush down to save me.
Oh, was I home when that happened?
Yes!
This is news to me. Are you okay?
It's been 4 days.
You survived. Look at you. You're a real trooper.
What kind of husband?
Huh?
What kind of husband?
What kind of yelling were you doing? Like the yelling kind of yelling or like the...
No, I was
And
actually
everybody goes
screaming.
crazy.
I was actually screaming. If I was being actually murdered,
Uh-huh.
like if I was being murdered downstairs,
Right, axe murder.
you would not have known.
With
You
an
would not
axe.
have come to save me.
Well, that's good for me. I wouldn't have to have the trauma of watching you get murdered. So there's that silver lining. I would be fine.
I need a new husband. I'm accepting applications.
You're not. Unfortunately, you're stuck with me, and that's just how that goes. Don't get murdered while I'm upstairs. It's that simple.
Anyways, today we are here to watch Tier Zoo. This video is titled How Ants and Bees Broke the Game.
Have you ever seen a little TikTok video of the guy listening to the bees talk?
No.
I'll send it to you later. It's cute.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
I hope you guys are as excited about this video as I am. Also, hope you guys are doing well, staying safe and sanitized. I'm excited to see what this video has in store for us. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started.
Murder hornet. Oh, shit. He didn't even stand a chance. I thought he was going to fight.
Insects are one of the most overpowered
Yeah.
factions in the
Rhino
game.
beetles.
With their incredible selection of powerful abilities, it's no surprise they've been the dominant force in the meta in basically every biome in the game. However, there is one subset of insects that really pushes the limits of what I think constitutes fair play in the game of life. I'm talking about Hymenoptera, the group consisting of bees, ants, and wasps. There are 2 factors that make this faction so powerful. The first is their incredible list of abilities, and the second is that their most famous strategy is basically an exploit of the game engine. This episode was sponsored by CuriosityStream and Nebula. First, their abilities. Long story short, Hymenopterans have a dozen or so powerful abilities, some of which are plenty broken enough on their own.
My.
But when combined synergistically, they become ridiculously overpowered. We're gonna need to sort of rapid fire through this list just to keep this video reasonably paced. The first and most important ability of theirs is flight. Part of the reason that insects in general are a top tier class is that they have access to the flight ability. They were the first major class to gain access to this perk, unlocking its several expansions before reptiles, birds, and mammals. It's tough to overstate the utility that this ability provides, but I do have a whole video on it if you want to know more.
Sure.
One thing to note is that while most flying builds had to modulate an entire pair of limbs in order to use this ability, insects did not. This gives insects, and especially Hymenopterans, access to ability combinations not seen anywhere else in the game. Next is atmospheric coloration. Many Hymenopterans are brightly colored, which lowers their stealth stat and greatly buffs their passive intimidation. It's such a frightening defense that other builds have started to copy it. Next is exoskeletal armor. Despite all being in a very low weight class, Hymenopterans sport durable armor that allows them to greatly reduce damage from attacks. While not as sturdy as, say, the armor of a beetle, it's still surprisingly strong. In addition to granting them extra defense from attacks, this armor makes flight a lot less risky, as getting hit midair is nowhere near as big a death sentence as it is for other flyers. The ability to fly usually is only even remotely viable when the user makes a lot of sacrifices in terms of bulk and defense, but this doesn't seem...
Was that a video?
Yes. You never seen that clip before?
No.
Okay, well, just keep it pushing. Yeah, that's what happened. I'm sorry if you've never seen it. Surprise!
I feel so bad for the player. Like, obviously, it's sad for, like, the bird.
I mean, yeah, it got blown. It got vaporized.
But, like, the poor player was just, like, trying to play his game.
Is that a strike?
You're going to hell.
seem to apply to insects.
Oh, that's so many bugs.
Next is their venomous sting. Despite being in a low weight class, pretty much every player needs to respect Hymenopterans as a threat. Their stings are powerful enough to completely paralyze other insect players, and deal serious damage to larger players. In a group, there's basically no weight class large enough to ignore their attacks. Even elephants fear beehives.
Really?
But speaking of beehives, I think it's time I cut to the chase. Their most important ability is Eusociality. This ability is completely busted and needs to be nerfed. At first glance, it might just look like normal team strategy, similar to cooperative hunting or herd behavior.
Right.
But in truth, it goes so far beyond that.
Hive mind!
These social insects are organized on a level that not even humans can contest. Despite not having a particularly high intelligence stat, a hive can build extremely complicated structures without the use of tools. They can launch organized attacks containing thousands of combatants. They can capture prisoners, cross major barriers, and control territory to an absolutely incredible degree. Thousands of players will lay down their lives in defense of a colony if need be.
That's badass.
So you may be asking yourself, why does this work? Why is it that in a meta dictated almost entirely by survival of the fittest, would so many players act altruistically, donating all of their foraging efforts, spending time guarding respawn points, and even sacrificing themselves in combat? The answer is complicated and gets into the very core of the game's mechanics. Try to stick with me, it's not an easy explanation, but I'll do my best. First, I'll start with the question. What does it mean to win the game? Most players would answer, complete the game's main quest, reproduction. But why is that the primary objective? And what if there was a way to change the main objective of another player? So the main objective is determined by the way the characters in the game are coded. Data miners have discovered that most new players spawn in with half the code of each player that cooperated in the corresponding reproduction quest. Because a player's primary objective is determined by whatever method they have available to pass on the largest percentage of their own code, in most cases, this means a player's main goal will be mating and offspring rearing, because this results in 50% of their own code being passed on.
Make me sick!
Hymenopterans found a way to break this aspect of the game, and they did so using an ability called Arenatoki. Arenatoki is a really complicated ability. Pause the video here if you'd like to try and understand why this is busted.
Give us a couple seconds.
Okay. Arenatoki exploit discovered within game's files. Arenatoki is a form of reproduction in which unfertilized eggs develop into males. Arenatoki causes more genetic material to be shared between sisters than traditional reproduction methods, due to fathers always giving identical genetic information. Queen bee has the ability to choose the gender of her spawn. Eggs that are not given any genetic material from a father will be born male.
That's awesome.
Okay. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
The relevant bit is that the daughters of a queen are semi-clones of each other. They still share 50% of their code with their mother and 50% with their father, but they share 75% with each other. This completely breaks the game. Because of the fact that if one of these daughters wanted to produce its own offspring, it would only share 50% of its code. Their primary objective actually switches from reproduce to assist the queen in reproduction as much as possible.
Okay.
Because in assisting the queen in hatching more sisters, each sister is actually passing on 25% more of their genetic code than they would if they were to simply reproduce conventionally on their own.
That's so fucking cool.
So it says F tier is betraying your own species and killing other members before they can pass on their genes and then dying.
Right.
D tier is dying without producing your own offspring.
That's 0. Right.
C is producing no offspring but protecting / assisting other members of your species in other ways.
That's only 5%.
B tier is producing no offspring but protecting/assisting your siblings so that they may pass on their genes. And then A tier is producing and protecting your own offspring. And S tier is assisting the queen and producing semi-clones of yourself.
Than they would if they were to simply
That is
reproduce
busted.
conventionally on their own. In practice, this means workers are more loyal to the queen than they are to themselves.
Right.
And will act against their own self-interest if it means giving the queen the resources or opportunity to hatch more sisters. This is a blatant exploit of the game's code system, and it undoubtedly leads to some of the most powerful strategies in the game.
Wild to me.
It essentially changes the game from being an action RPG to being an RTS. Let's talk about some of the more overtly OP types of strategies achievable through sociality.
God.
The most obvious is that these players take coordinated attacks to the next level.
Fuck.
They can take down players of radically larger sizes than themselves. Even among the largest players in the game, there is very little that can withstand a full-on assault on an
Right.
entire
So cool,
colony.
man.
Coordination also lends itself to the possibility of hyper-specialization. It's uncommon for members of the same species to have significantly different stats or abilities, since often these come with serious trade-offs.
Right.
But when the colony can cover for your weaknesses, there's nothing preventing some members from speccing purely into extreme offense or impenetrable defense, since even if these reduce your own foraging abilities, the colony can assist you.
What the fuck is
Defense.
that?
Yeah, that's
Sense-
real.
Doorhead ant. I've never heard of that in my life.
Yeah, it's fucking real. Weird, huh?
That's cool and also weird.
Like literally bugs, some insects in hives can like choose when they grow like certain fucking things. And that's insanity.
That's terrible.
Isn't it though?
That's awful.
They literally could take over the earth if we didn't
Yeah.
exist. Like imagine where they would be now in 400 years of non-human interaction.
If these reduce your own foraging
Crazy.
abilities, the colony can assist you.
Insects are the future.
On the flip side, though, the ability of Hymenopterans to generate food is also massively improved.
Yeah.
Through the eusocial ability, strategies like food storage and even agriculture are unlocked. The best example of this is the leafcutter ant, which adopts a unique strategy of harvesting the leaves of plants in order to farm nutritious fungus. But there are other ants which raise insect larvae as livestock.
Yeah.
Other
this is
Hymenopterans store food in the form of honey, an XP-dense treasure so valuable that it's one of the few reasons another player may attempt an attack on a bee's nest.
fun. I'm still gonna get
These
this
strategies
one, bro.
all ensure highly stable sources of food, which mitigates the risk of a mass wipe in the event of famine,
Right.
which is normally the main downside of sharing food. They're the reason colonies can endure winters where foraging is effectively halted. It's a really broken ability. One of the most impressive things these players can accomplish is their structures. Between the organization seen in beehives to the sheer massive size of a leafcutter ant colony, these bases put most other constructed nests to shame and protect those inside from basically any attack. Eusocial insects are a fascinating faction of the player base. However, there is another equally fascinating faction of Hymenopterans, a faction whose strategy is so disturbingly brutal that I'm not comfortable risking having my video age restricted on YouTube by showing it.
That makes sense.
See, I've made a whole companion video to this one all about Parasitoid Wasps. Wasps
Yeah,
do
those are
some
gross.
crazy
Tell me
things
that-
like
They're
mind
so
control
gross.
and mummification of their enemies.
Good job. Good work with that one. I thoroughly enjoyed everything about that video.
I hated it. Don't get me wrong. Incredibly well done. So informative.
Very well done.
You told me and taught me so many things that I hated. I hated it.
We can go more in depth, I think, about ants specifically.
No.
I think that would be a very worthwhile video.
Mm-mm.
I think bees have gotten a lot of spotlight over the years on our channel. Beetles and ants, I think we could do a lot more with.
They both make me so uncomfy.
I know, I'm comfy bumpy. But they're
Don't
so
touch me.
cool. Imagine waking up, you were eating a popsicle, fell asleep, covered in ants. How did they find
You
you?
want to know something awful?
Absolutely.
I have actually woken up covered in ants.
Have
not
you
because of that.
really?
So when my family and I lived in California,
Huh?
The apartment complex that we lived in, I guess, had like lapsed on their pest control or something. We actually don't know what happened, but I was asleep and my little brother was asleep, and my mom came in and just starts screaming. Like dead asleep.
Yeah.
Mom starts screaming, and then she just like, she doesn't even say anything to me. She just like picks us up, throws us in the bathtub, and then you just see all these ants like in the water, and then I start screaming, and then
you
my
just
poor
now figured it out.
yeah, and then my poor dad wakes up and he's like, what's going on?
And he sees the ant and he's like, ah, kill it.
And then we stayed in a hotel room.
Damn
It
right.
was, but yeah, so ugh.
So it's in you, is what you're saying.
Ah!
And legend says there's ants in her ears to this day. Thank you, my wife, for having me for this awesome bug video.
Thank you for joining
It
me.
had a lot of bugs, enough bugs, plenty of bugs.
It's not a bug.
The right amount of bugs.
It was a disgusting amount of bugs. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to leave your reaction requests and recommendations down in the comments below. And if it has to do with bugs, why
Tell us.
don't you love me?
We'd love to see it.
That's it. That's all I got. I'm gonna go take another shower because I feel really disgusting
Okay.
right now.
Well, that's like the last video we shot today. It's a whole host of stuff you're going to see. A Chavezz and Skitten week. Let us know if you enjoy those. And we'll see you around in the next one.
Peace out, Ho Biscuits. It's Skittenlit.